see just how brilliant it was for the children and everyone who took part. It was absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. I think it's really special that you know Anisa, that you were a part of this event. It's going to make this interview much more real. Now, Anisa, what an intro.
Wow.
I don't even know where to start other than we've got something very specific that we want to focus on for today's show. So weight loss and sugar, is that right? Why don't you tell us why those two topics in particular?
Well, as you saw there, we picked up, Assalamu alaikum, by the way.
Oh my God!
It's because we were talking, don't worry, we did salam each other.
We've been talking behind the scenes. How rude. Assalamu
alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
ever
so much.
Just feel like it's your home now.
Yeah,
we don't need to do the intros.
Alhamdulillah.
And we did have you on here just the other week where you were talking about this version of addiction, which was mobilitis, right?
Yes.
Now we're going on to another huge problem in our society, this addiction.
Yes, and I think for me, you know, as you can see, I like to take topics that are current and important and present them in a creative way. So with the children, you know, they think they're going to come and do some cool drama or filmmaking. No, they actually learnt about something that is taking over their lives, which is screen addiction. So my next big topic is for sure sugar addiction.
Wow.
Sugar addiction, because this is one of those other secret things that we're not talking about. And because it's sugar coated, it looks pretty, you know, you've got all these dessert parlors now, you know, everybody likes to go and eat out and have that lovely sweet treat. This is why we need to change that narrative and talk about it.
Why? What is the problem with sugar?
Sugar is actually more addictive than A-class drugs.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. It's more addictive than A-class drugs. So because drugs are haram and alcohol is haram, we're like, no, we're not going to touch it. You know, we wouldn't touch a glass of wine, for instance, but we're happy to pick up a glass of Coke, which can contain so many teaspoons of sugar. Let alone a frappuccino, which I've recently learned it contains 29 teaspoons of sugar.
Oh my goodness.
But we don't look at it in that way.
29.
Because it's just something that we desire and it's nice and it tastes good.
Yeah.
But health-wise, even mentally, it is affecting our bodies big time.
And we can see this huge craze with the drinks. I've almost said the name, I don't know if I can. But there are these drinks that children now, they pay extortionate money for, the energy drinks. And what's in them.
Yeah.
But what effect is this having on our kids and on us?
Yeah. Well, I want to address the obesity crisis. And the reason why I want to address that is because I've been watching the Muslim community over the last 20 years just really become bigger and bigger and bigger. And I know some people will argue and say, but it's in certain cultures. It's actually not. When I first studied it, it was Kuwait, you know, all of the kind of Arab countries, you know, obviously America's up there, Turkey's up there, Egypt's up there, you know, but we are unfortunately amongst the fattest. And for me, as a Muslim who came into Islam, who was already very fit and healthy, coming in and seeing all of that, I was like, why? Why are we, you know, why do we not know how to control ourselves? Why do we not know, and why can't we even see that we are becoming bigger? You know, subhanAllah.
So I have a little theory on this, and I'm happy for you to debunk it. So what I feel like is, as Muslims, you know, we can't have entertainment as dance, as music, as food is ultimately our entertainment.
Our connection.
And it is our connection, is the way we show love. You know, my mum, for example, if I don't eat something, it's like, why? What, you know, what's wrong with it? Like, that is her way to show us love.
Yeah.
And not that it's right, but, you know, that's one of the things. And you're right, you know, kids are going now to invites and parties, and they come back with a whole cone filled with sweets. They're there drinking fizzy drinks, all of those things. And I just feel like, but has it become so much a part of this community to normalise it that there is no way out now?
100%. And that's where it starts.
That's scary.
Because it has become the thing. Like for me, with my children, you know, we used to have Jummah treats. Jummah was a time where you can, you know, have your little whatever you want to buy and you can indulge a little bit. Or Eid. You know, Eid was another, you know, and I know it only comes around twice a year, but we are doing it far too often. Some parents even every day. And I'm happy to be on now because we're going back to schools, right? All the kids are getting ready to go back to schools and the parents are going to go and start buying the packed lunch stuff. What are you going to be putting in that packed lunch? Because a lot of people don't even know that those little yogurts, they contain sometimes up to 9 teaspoons of sugar, sometimes 4.
And they make it so cheap as well, don't they?
And they advertise it for the children.
It advertises healthy fruit.
But they advertise it for the children, so they put all their favourite cartoon characters, etc.
colours
on there, and the children want it. And the thing is, with schools, if one child is having it, then, you know, they'll likely go home and say, Mom, can you buy me that? Because so-and-so is having it. And it becomes like a trend. So I really want to talk about this topic passionately because
it's really needed.
I want us to look at it in a different light.
And I think it's not only weight that is affected because the gut and the brain are connected, right? So it's having an effect obviously on children, on our gut health, on long-term illnesses. That can we talk about that a little bit?
Definitely. And that's what I'm saying. Like obesity is one of the things, right? One of the things. But then, like you said, diabetes, it is rampant. Diabetes is one of the biggest things, I think, in the Pakistani community alone. This is huge.
Really high in Bangladeshi as well.
And it's not the fact that it is, you know, the adults. It's now the children who are becoming affected as well. So, I mean, when I'm talking about a big topic, even though it's one substance that we're talking about primarily, it has an effect on every part of our health. Like you said, mental health, on our teeth, on our weight, on our organs, just everything.
Gosh, scary stuff. And, you know, I didn't expect it to hit, you know, you have a very powerful way with words, Anisa, as you probably know. But subhanAllah, it's really making me, I mean, on one hand, I'm doing the interview. On the other hand, my brain's going like this, like, oh my God, we underestimate it so much because like you say, it's normalized. So talk us through some of the things that you're doing to try to work around this or support people to even just see what's happening here.
Well, definitely. I love the fact that you've asked that question because, yes, I am a bit of a complicated character, as you know. But because creativity is in my blood, and that's something that, you know, I left when I became Muslim and recognised and realised that it's a really important tool that our Muslim community need more than ever. Not just the Muslim community, to be fair, everyone. It's a tool that we're not using to convey messages. And we see that even in the film industry. I mean, you think that the film industry is just there for entertainment. It's not. When I went to study at the BFI, the British Film Institute, my director, he came up and he said about us filmmakers, he said, what is your propaganda? What is your message? What do you want to tell the world? And we were just thinking, hey. And he goes, because every single piece that's made has an agenda behind it.
Absolutely.
And that changed my perspective big time because it was like, okay, well, for me, like let's say, for instance, this now. How am I going to change the children and the parents in a creative way? Because if we just stand up and we present, I don't know, PowerPoint presentations, a booklet, for instance, it's not really going to penetrate them, because what we want to do is we want them to think about it and we want them to make conscious decisions to
for themselves,
make changes and actually implement it, right? So this is a big thing that we have to turn around because remember I said sugar is addictive. It's not just a it's not just a help me out because I feel like I've got brain fog.
brain fog.
But it's not just a substance that is just nice and it tastes nice, right?
Yeah.
It is something that actually our body craves.
Right. I think something that's really important, like to look at, is what are alternatives? What should we be doing? Because obviously we know we should be eating organic, for example. Very, very expensive. What should we be doing? I mean, so you're saying it's okay to have the Jummah treat, but we should try and limit that, especially in our households. What should we be doing?
I mean, even before that, I would say let's start off with the mind, okay? And I say that because, you know, especially with children, if you teach them something, like we did with the mobilitis class, if you teach them something, they're able to make conscious decisions for themselves, right? So we taught them about, you know, when they have the mobile phones next to them, how much radiation it's admitting into their body. We taught them about, you know, when they're in these kind of slouched positions, how it can damage your spine, etc. And, you know, you plant seeds. Now, with sugar and it being that addictive, how can we change the mindset so people look at it differently? And I think that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, because my ancestors, and I'm going to say our ancestors, actually, because I don't want to divide, and I'll come back on that later, right? But our descendants from the slave trade, and I'm talking about the Atlantic slave trade now. This is a time, if you don't know about it, where, you know, millions were taken from West Africa and sold because of this commodity.
We were just talking about in the news today, it was over the cane sugar that they had thousands from Jamaica and Guyana.
Yeah, so if you think about it, and let me just retract a little bit, because I think this is very important. And I will be talking about this, inshallah, on my free event on September the 1st, which is online, and I hope that everybody can join. Now, when I came to Islam, I needed to understand the Asian community, because I came into a predominantly Pakistani, Bengali and Asian community that I hadn't necessarily been involved in before. But instead of me seeing it as us and them, when I studied the partition, for instance, I was crying, you know, because I felt so connected. And again, like I said, I didn't turn around and say that's us and them. That's part of my history too, because they were Muslim, you know, subhanallah, right? The people that got affected. The same way that we will be very passionate about Palestine and will be passionate about other parts of the world, we need to remember our history. And from that time, there were so many Muslims taken. There were so many Muslims, and I'm talking about learned scholars, you know, affluent people that were taken by force to cultivate this crop. This crop that, you know, subjected people to the most awful conditions. Absolute orphans. Can you imagine, you know, your family getting ripped apart? Can you imagine you doing something wrong? Like, for instance, if you're a Muslim and you wanted to pray, you could get beaten, whipped by one of those long leather whips, you know. And this is a part of the history that we're not talking about. The Muslims that wanted to uphold their history, right? Their religious beliefs, they would, if they were taking the time out to do their 5 times daily prayers, they would get whipped, right? So then they were obviously forced into Christianity, etc. But I don't want us to think that that was African history or that was Caribbean history. It was our history that was feeding a commodity that now is affecting us as Muslims still today. It poisoned us back then, and it's poisoning us now.
Poison us now.
Yeah.
I really, I've always admired like your storytelling nature of connecting people to your vision or your, you know, your ultimate agenda, as you were saying, in terms of the filmmaking. And I want to understand, you know, obviously we live in a world of convenience, busy parents, busy, you know, then busy kids, trying to just give things quickly, which is both cheap, both easy and just there kind of thing. You spoke about an event on the 1st of September, and you're completely right. You know, for these parents and everyone, all they've got is people just saying, shouldn't eat sugar, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do it. Goes in one ear, comes out the other. And you mentioned mindset. So I want to understand a bit more about the 1st of September. What is it? Why is it different? And, you know, how long is it? A bit of the details as well.
Well, I just decided, you know, this is not something that is, you know, just London-based. This is, you know, our whole ummah.
Pretty much global, isn't it?
It's humanity. There are more obese people now than there are starving people. And that's huge, because they talk about crisis and food shortages and things like that. But there's more obese people. So I just wanted to make it very easy, accessible. Just come online and learn, because that's the beginning. If you start to learn and education is definitely key, then it can begin that journey of change. I'm not somebody who goes in and just necessarily goes in and goes cold turkey, you know, because it needs to reach your heart first. It needs to reach that, you know, and then you can make the conscious decision. But the thing is, and the dangerous thing is that sugar is everywhere. It's even in our bread. So we need to educate ourselves. So the purpose of the 1st of September is to come online and learn a little bit more.
Okay.
Learn a little bit more about our history so that we can learn from the past, and then look at our Islamic solutions, because subhanallah, Allah does not leave us without a cure for everything, you know, subhanallah. So why are we looking towards all these other industries out there, or adapting these different diets, for instance, when we have the answer? And actually, if we become the model examples, then we can teach it to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Okay, so look, there are many of us who are needing to get back into our health, myself included. Where should we start? What are some steps that we should do? Because the reality is many people become overweight and lose their health, but it's not too late, is it? Where should we start? What should we do?
And I like that you've said this as well, Khalila, because again, going back to the mind, a lot of people do comfort eat. They eat because of depression. And, you know, it's very easy to quickly go and get that sugar high, that sugar rush, which is going to, because it has a chemical effect on your body, right? So it's not just you're reaching for this sugar and it's just there. It actually has an effect on your moods and your hormones, right? So again, the first place is definitely to look at why you are overeating, or, you know, deciding to go for these sweet, you know, things, whatever it be, fizzy drinks, chocolate, cakes, pastries. You know, there's so much there, variety there now, you know. So you need to figure out for yourself, number one, why you're eating. And once you do that, because what you're trying to do is break habits, right? You know, my biggest thing for everybody to take away is just don't buy it. You know, if you go to the supermarket, I mean, when I go to the supermarket, I push past those aisles on purpose, because for me, they don't exist.
Right.
You know, they just don't exist.
If they're there, you're going to have it, isn't it?
Yeah, if it's in the house.
But if it's not there,
you might make a bad decision.
And I mean, something creative as well is because the children are definitely for sure addicted. Like I have seen so much addictive behavior, you know, where kids are getting angry and they are whining because they want this substance and they don't even realize it, and parents often give in, right? So what we can do is give the challenges over to them. Okay, you know what, you can bake today. I used to do this with my teenagers, you know, you can bake today, but you're going to bake with only natural sugars, and give them that challenge. So
what
they
are natural sugars that people can use?
I mean, in fruits, you know, dried fruits, you know, use honey. etc. Yeah, and go for it and see what they come up with.
Instead of that 200 gram of sugar being thrown in to that cake.
Yeah, there's loads of historical kind of evidence to show that there have been campaigns over the years where people have tried to associate sugar with the blood of slaves. And I like that. I think that's powerful. So every time that you are taking that teaspoon of sugar, you know the history as you're pouring those granules into your cup. Don't just go like this. Okay, cool. I'm so used to having 2 teaspoons of sugar with my coffee or my tea. You know, make a conscious kind of, or even create a picture of the fact that our ancestors took this substance and cultivated it, but at the cost of their lives changing completely, destroyed forever. Because even me as a West Indian now, I still have inherited trauma.
Of course. That,
you know, people think that sometimes, Anisa, you are this and you are that. Well, actually, I'm passionate about change and justice because I come from the island who fought it. You know, we were the rebellious ones. We were the ones who, you know, wanted to, unfortunately, go in and kill the slave owners. But we want to do that because we were tired of being beaten and raped and killed.
Yeah, subhanAllah. It's, I think if we associate and make that conscious association, it's definitely a way to try and stop the crazy pandemic. And the truth is that when you do stop, your taste buds change, right?
Yes. Yeah. Your health will completely your body will renew itself, your health, your energy levels will go back up, your skin will look better. And, you know, and the last talk that I did, I was comparing dates. And I looked at 4 components, and I might not remember all 4, but one of them was that the fact that this processed sugar, it ages you. You know, it causes your skin to become wrinkly, etc. But dates, and they are still very sweet, it's the opposite effect. It's an anti-aging food.
There we go.
Right?
Dates over cake.
Love it. I know.
So,
well, look, Anisa, we do just want to know. Yes, go on. You're going to cover it anyway.
Okay. we're drawing to the end, but we want to know where we can join, how we join.
How do we find out about the first?
I mean, you can follow me on Instagram. That's just my name, Anisa Kissoon. Or you can go and find my website. Go and look up anisasecrets.com, okay?
anisasecrets.com.
There we go. Don't forget that name. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It's been an
Thank
honour.
you so much, Anisa.
So much.
Incredible interview. Thank you very much. We are now going for a short break, but do join us straight after, as Chef Hamza will be joining us in the kitchen.